Kuhn Cassius, IFL TV, Liverpool here for the Mersey Beach show. Remember Eddie Hearn. Right, what do you reckon tonight?
Well, it's been a tough couple of weeks on the show. The Bellew fight got us out of jail. You know, looking at the fights going through it, Mitchell's guy was a joke. I mean, how he's got a record like that, our matchmaking, he's shooting. But you know, it was what it was. We were just going to get him out in 8 threes, but the opponent was very disappointing, even though he had a go. Ocheng lost against Perkins, gutted for him.
Third loss on the run.
Yeah, I wanted to get him up again. I mean, to be honest with Eric, like, he's going in prize fighter and he's reaching that point in his career now where it's sink or swim. And in prize fighter, he's got to go and swim, otherwise he's sinking, and he's got to look at where he's going to go. Well done, mate. Well done, mate. Well done. You're a tough son of a bitch. He's unbelievable. He just had 6 rounds of right. You wouldn't see it on Sky. That was unbelievable. Right, buddy. Cheers, mate. What were we saying? Yeah, Eric. So he's got to do the business in prize fighter. Well done, mate. Well done. Yeah, thanks.
Eric, yeah.
He was poor against Perkins, awkward southpaw, and you know, but Ocheng's got to do the business in prize fight.
I was listening to the Sky interview and obviously Tony Bellew seems to have some choice words to Nathan Cleverly rather. I mean, what is the ultimate plan there for Tony Bellew at cruiserweight?
He's one more fight in the summer and then he's ready for anything, whether that's Cleverly or whether that's the cruiserweights. I mean, Cleverly hasn't boxed obviously since the Kovalev fight. So I don't know what he's going to do, but it's a big fight domestically. We all know the domestic fights are the money right now, so I'd love to make that fight. I think it would do well here or Cardiff, you know. But Tony, you know, he was back to his exciting self. I mean, how Brudov got up in the 2nd round, was it?
Yeah.
I mean, I've never seen a knockdown
There
like
was also a right hand in the 6th, I think.
Yeah, and then Tony was all over the place in the 7th,
yeah.
and it just turned the fight, and it ended up being a great fight. But I'm pleased that Tony got the knockout, because that was.
But he also got caught as he landed the left hook. He also took one.
But it was a sweet finish, because to go and win a fight on points would be great. You know, all right, mate. Do you need me?
You all right?
Sorry, mate. Cheers, mate. Yeah, so to get the knockout was great, because points would have been a good performance, but it was a sweet knockout. And Brudov, I think he's been taken to hospital. I think just precautionary, but it was a bad one.
Okay, Alvaro Robles, who come to fight, didn't he? And to be honest,
well, do you know what? Like, I know people say, "Oh, who's this guy?" But when we sometimes that's an example of bringing a positive foreigner over, a bit like Brizuela. Do you know what I mean, for Tommy Coyle? And the negative side is like the Mitchell opponent, who just turns out to be shit. So, but basically, Alvaro Robles is a decent fighter, you know. And I spoke to people in Mexico. They told me, "Listen, this is a tough kid who can punch."
Yeah.
You know, and ultimately, it was a good fight.
You see the referee looking at certain points to think whether he was in that much trouble, but he was
to be honest, the
countering
Sky
back.
people said they thought he should have been pulled out a round or 2 before. I didn't, because although he was hurt, he wasn't out on his feet. He was, you know, he was throwing back.
Yeah.
So, but you know, listen, it's difficult for Kell, because obviously you've got this world title fight that's been announced virtually this week, and now you've got to go in this fight. And it's like, what do? Do I try and take him out? I know he can punch a bit. You know, but I thought Kell looked good. I thought he, you know, expressed himself well, and he can go and have a couple of days off and then get straight back into camp for probably July.
What's the chances that we're going to see Rocky Fielding and Paul Smith after this British title now?
I think it's the fight to make, to be honest with you. I mean, listen, Rocky had problems in this fight. He hurt his right hand about a week ago, and it was touch and go. Then he had the problems with his weight. Then he done his left hand as well in the fight. So it was frustrating, because people don't see that. And he didn't want to say anything in the interview after, but so I thought it was necessary for me to say it, you know, because it's not, I know people don't like excuses, but if you hurt both hands in a fight, it's difficult to look good, and it's very difficult to look good against a diamond anyway. But ultimately, it was quite a boring fight. But Rocky got 12 rounds in, so there was positives. I just think the Paul Smith v Rocky Fielding fight is the one to make, unless Paul Smith can get that final eliminator or the world shot at Abraham, which his ranking suggests he might be able to do that. But I just think that's a big fight for Liverpool, and you know, I think Rocky's ready for that kind of fight now. You can become a little bit stagnant you know, by having this level of opponents. He was supposed to fight Dodson tonight, and we didn't really, you know, the Adamu fight was not really one we were looking at, but when Dodson pulled out with a couple of weeks to go, you know, you go down the Commonwealth list and you look at the fighters, and Adamu is as credible as most. So, you know, it wasn't the greatest fight in the world, and we needed a good one with Bellew to get out of jail, and it was a good fight.
Any progress on the Mitchell and Vasquez situation for Mayfair?
No, I think they want the fight. I'm speaking to Sean Gibbons and Xantha Promotions. There's a lot to sort out within the deal. I won't bore you with it, but ultimately, I think we've got a decent chance of making the fight. I think Mitchell's ready for it. I mean, you know, Ed Robinson asked me a question: do you think that was good preparation for a world title fight? The answer is no, but also the answer is I don't think he really needs preparation for a world title fight. He's had 4 fights in 6 months. He's ready to go, you know, and he's good enough to go. He's good enough to mix it with Vasquez. It's a really, really tough fight. He's one of the best, if not the best, lightweight in the division. But Kev's ready to dive in now. You know, he's happy, he's fresh, he's looking well, he's on the weight all the time, and you know, I think he's ready to go.
You've got like a 3-week layoff now to your next show on the 5th of April. You look relieved for that?
Yeah, I mean, it's like boxing. It's good. It's difficult. It's good and bad for the soul, because you got the buzz of Wembley. You know, so you make the Froch Grove fight and you're just on cloud 9, and then you go on sale, and you sell out in 53 minutes, 60,000. You break all records. You make the biggest British boxing fight ever. Then you get called a cunt for a week by people who haven't got tickets. Excuse my French. Then you have a great card here that falls apart, and people moaning who ain't even going to the show, but they're still moaning. And it just, you know, it's like ups and downs and ups. And then you're sitting there after the Kevin Mitchell fight and you think, that was dire. And then you think, if Alvaro Robles don't come to fight, this is going to be hard to take. Then Alvaro Robles has a good fight with Brook. And then you think, come on, let's have a good fight with Rocky and Adamu. And it's poor. And then all of a sudden, Bellew Brudov is a great scrap. So it's like, you know, it's, and probably I'm a little bit too, not concerned what people think, but you know, you want people ultimately in the arena and at home to be enjoying what they're seeing. And with the problems we've had with the show, it was always going to be difficult to be a great show. But ultimately, you know, I know it wasn't a corker, but I'm quite happy, especially with the Bellew fight, because I was pleased, and Brook as well. It's difficult because, you know, when we do like a really good trade show, for example, it doesn't really rate that well. And when we put bigger names on that, all right, sometimes might not be involved in 50-50 fights, it rates much better. Do you know what I mean? But our job is to deliver ratings, but also you want to deliver ratings that when people tune in, they enjoy the show. Do you know what I mean? I could put a trade card on the forums and Twitter would just wank about for weeks, but it would rate piss poor. My language is terrible, so I have to apologise for this. But it's alright, and I film London. You know? Yeah, and I can put a card on that, but you know, I know what's good and what's bad, and some of that tonight was bad and some was good, but you know, it is what it is, and it was a difficult job getting the show in full flow with the pullouts we had. But hey ho, it's off to Prize Fighter we go on April the 5th, and then April the 19th in Manchester is an absolute barnstormer. Scott Quigg against Semeno, Crawler against Murray, Joshua, Campbell, McDonald, Josh Warrington fighting for the Commonwealth title, Jose Burton, Callum Smith, Stephen Smith and Paul Smith now all want to be on the show as well.
I bet they do, yeah.
So
I'm going to give you a 9 out of 10 for honesty tonight.
Just a 9?
For honesty?
No, but you know, it's, I can't stand here in front of you and say that was unbelievable. It wasn't. It was good in parts and it was poor in parts. But you know, not every show is going to be a Cardiff or a Hull, and I suppose that's a good thing because I've got to be kept on my toes. But there's a lot of big fights, you know, happening, and not just us promoting. I mean, they're going to announce Fury against Chisora for the Manchester Arena, I think, in July on Monday. It's a good fight. You know, we've got to get these domestic fights happening and rocking and rolling, and obviously culminating on the biggest British boxing fight ever, which is Froch Groves on the 31st. So, you know, when we have shows like this that are just okay, I go back to the shows that we used to do in leisure centres with like
Hans Forge.
a main event and an 8-rounder as chief support, and I think, you know. But listen, you're gonna get some stick, ain't you? But oh well. We get up in the morning, we go home to my daughters and have a nice day on Sunday.
Don't blame you. Alright, Eddie, thanks for talking to us.
But in the meantime,
what are we doing tonight?
where are we going? Is that? Is that mine? Yeah. Cheers, mate. Alright?
Alright,
we're going to bed.
Yeah.
Brr.
Hello.